Donald Trump's potential return to the White House has reignited debates about his economic policies. His approach, often referred to as Trumponomics, is characterized by a mix of tax cuts, deregulation, and aggressive trade policies. These strategies have been both lauded and criticized, creating a polarizing effect on the American public and the global community. During his first term, Trump's administration implemented significant tax cuts aimed at stimulating economic growth. These cuts were particularly beneficial to corporations and high-income earners, which, according to supporters, spurred investment and job creation. Deregulation was another cornerstone of his economic policy, with the aim of reducing the burden on businesses and fostering a more dynamic economic environment. However, these moves also sparked considerable debate. Supporters of Trumponomics point to the period of economic growth and historically low unemployment rates as evidence of its success. They argue that the tax cuts and deregulation created a more favorable business climate, leading to increased hiring and higher wages for many Americans. The stock market also saw significant gains, which bolstered the retirement accounts and investments of millions. Critics, however, highlight the downsides of these policies. They argue that the benefits of the tax cuts were unevenly distributed, exacerbating income inequality. The deregulation efforts, while beneficial to businesses, often came at the expense of environmental protections and worker safety. Additionally, Trump's trade wars, particularly with China, led to increased costs for consumers and disruptions in global supply chains. A second Trump administration could double down on these policies, potentially intensifying both their positive and negative effects. Supporters believe that further tax cuts and deregulation could continue to drive economic growth and job creation. However, critics warn that such measures could lead to greater economic disparity and environmental degradation. This raises important questions about the long-term impact of Trumponomics on the American economy and its position in the global market. Will the focus on tax cuts and deregulation lead to sustainable growth, or will it create vulnerabilities that could undermine economic stability? The international community is also watching closely, as changes in US economic policy can have far-reaching effects on global trade and financial markets. Will Trump 2.0 bring prosperity or instability? The answer may depend on one's perspective and priorities. For some, the promise of continued economic growth and job creation is a compelling reason to support a return to Trumponomics. For others, the potential for increased inequality and environmental harm is a significant concern. Let's examine the potential consequences of his economic agenda. As we delve deeper into the specifics of Trumponomics, we'll explore the various facets of these policies and their implications for the future of the American economy. Whether you view them as a path to prosperity or a recipe for instability, the return of Trumponomics is sure to be a defining issue in the upcoming political landscape. Trump's economic philosophy centers on shrinking government and unleashing the power of the free market. He believes that excessive regulations stifle businesses and hinder economic growth. His administration aggressively rolled back environmental protections, financial regulations, and labor standards. This deregulation, coupled with large tax cuts, particularly for corporations, forms the core of his supply-side approach. By reducing the tax burden and regulatory hurdles, Trump aims to incentivize investment, boost production, and ultimately drive economic growth. The immediate impact of Trump's policies is undeniable. The 2017 tax cuts provided a significant boost to corporate profits and fueled a stock market surge. Businesses, flush with cash, increased investments and hiring, leading to a period of low unemployment. These short-term gains, however, came at a cost. The tax cuts primarily benefited wealthy individuals and corporations, exacerbating income inequality. Moreover, the resulting increase in the national debt raises concerns about long-term fiscal sustainability. While Trump's policies offered short-term economic sugar highs, they also planted the seeds of long-term economic instability. Inflation, a persistent concern during his first term, continues to strain household budgets. His protectionist trade policies, characterized by tariffs on goods from China and other countries, have disrupted global supply chains and raised prices for consumers. Furthermore, his restrictive immigration policies have exacerbated labor shortages in key sectors, further fueling inflation. Section 5. Echoes of the Past. A historical perspective on Trump's economic policies. Trump's economic agenda can be seen as a continuation of the supply-side revolution that began in the 1980s under President Reagan. This era marked a significant shift in economic policy, focusing on reducing the role of government in the economy. Reagan's policies, often referred to as Reaganomics, aimed to stimulate economic growth through tax cuts, deregulation, and a reduction in government spending. These policies were based on the belief that a free market economy would lead to increased investment, job creation, and overall economic prosperity. This approach, emphasizing tax cuts and deregulation, has been lauded by proponents for its role in stimulating economic growth. They argue that by lowering taxes, individuals and businesses have more money to spend and invest, leading to increased economic activity. Deregulation, on the other hand, is seen as a way to reduce the burden on businesses, allowing them to operate more efficiently and competitively. Supporters of this approach believe that it creates a more dynamic and prosperous economy, benefiting everyone in the long run. However, critics argue that it has also contributed to widening income inequality and a decline in social mobility. They point out that while the wealthy and corporations have benefited significantly from these policies, the middle and lower classes have not seen the same level of economic gains. This has led to a growing divide between the rich and the poor, with many people struggling to make ends meet. Critics also argue that the focus on deregulation has led to a lack of oversight and accountability, resulting in economic instability and financial crises. Trump's policies, with their focus on corporate interests and disregard for social safety nets, risk exacerbating these trends. By prioritizing tax cuts for the wealthy and reducing regulations on businesses, his administration has been accused of neglecting the needs of ordinary Americans. This has raised concerns about the long-term sustainability of such policies and their impact on social cohesion. As the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen, there are growing calls for a more balanced approach that addresses the needs of all citizens, not just the wealthy and powerful. Section 6. A nation divided, the uneven distribution of economic benefits. One of the most concerning aspects of Trump's economic policies is their uneven impact on different segments of society. While corporations and wealthy individuals have reaped significant benefits from tax cuts and deregulation, working-class Americans have seen their wages stagnate and their cost of living rise. This disparity in economic outcomes has fueled social and political divisions, creating a climate of resentment and instability. Section 7. Global Tremors, International Trade and Relations in the Shadow of Trump 2.0. Trump's economic nationalism, characterized by protectionist trade policies and a disregard for international agreements, has strained relations with key allies and disrupted global trade flows. His imposition of tariffs on Chinese goods has sparked a trade war, harming businesses and consumers on both sides of the Pacific. His withdrawal from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a trade agreement designed to counter China's growing economic influence, has further weakened America's standing in the Asia-Pacific region. Section 8. Conclusion. Navigating the uncertain terrain of Trump's economic legacy. Trump's economic policies present a complex and often contradictory picture. On one hand, his administration's tax cuts and deregulation efforts have been credited with spurring economic growth and boosting corporate profits. These measures were designed to stimulate investment and create jobs, and in the short term, they have had some success. The stock market reached new heights and unemployment rates fell to historic lows. While his tax cuts and deregulation have delivered short-term gains, there are concerns about the long-term sustainability of these policies. Critics argue that the benefits have been unevenly distributed, with the wealthiest individuals and corporations reaping the most rewards. Additionally, the significant reduction in federal revenue has contributed to a growing national debt, raising questions about fiscal responsibility and the potential for future economic instability. their long-term consequences remain uncertain. The deregulation of key industries, while intended to reduce bureaucratic red tape, has also raised concerns about environmental protection and consumer safety. The rollback of regulations in areas such as energy production and financial services has sparked debates about the balance between economic growth and the safeguarding of public interests. His protectionist trade policies and restrictive immigration stance threaten to undermine global economic stability. The imposition of tariffs on imports from key trading partners led to retaliatory measures, disrupting global supply chains and increasing costs for American businesses and consumers. The trade wars with China and other nations have had mixed results, with some industries benefiting from increased protection, while others have suffered from reduced market access and higher input costs, and further isolate the United States on the world stage. The restrictive immigration policies have also had significant economic implications. By limiting the flow of skilled labor into the country, these policies have created challenges for industries that rely on a diverse and talented workforce. The long-term impact on innovation, competitiveness, and demographic trends remains a subject of intense debate among economists and policymakers. As we navigate the uncertain terrain of Trump's economic legacy, it is essential to consider both the achievements and the challenges. The economic landscape he has shaped is marked by significant shifts in policy and priorities, with lasting effects that will continue to unfold in the years to come. The interplay between short-term gains and long-term consequences will be a critical factor in assessing the overall impact of his presidency on the American economy. One thing is clear: his policies will continue to shape the American economy and its place in the world for years to come. The legacy of Trump's economic policies will be a topic of ongoing analysis and debate as future administrations grapple with the outcomes of his decisions and chart their own course for the nation's economic future.